Take two.
Okay. We did I'm Jason first last time, so let's do I'm
Yes.
Chris first this time.
All right. You ready?
All right. Yeah. So, uh, hi everyone.
I'm Chris,
I'm Jason, and
and this
this
is Data
is Data in the
in
Ville.
the Ville.
That's real easy to synchronize when you're in the same room.
That's right.
Uh, Due to germs and viruses and scheduling issues and lots of snow every weekend for the past 3 weeks. We're doing this all remotely, even though we all live within like 30 minutes of each.
True story.
Our guest today is none other than Jes Schultz, who is a senior program manager at Microsoft, working on some pretty cool things in Azure, and I'm sure she'll get into some of that a little later. For the very few people who don't know who Jes is, we'll take a minute and let her introduce herself.
All right. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Chris. First off, if you're wondering, I know Jes, but I had no idea she was in Louisville. Yeah, that's a recent thing. So I moved here just about a year ago. So Louisville is still new to me, but I'm loving it. So yes, I'm currently working as a senior program manager at Microsoft, coming up on 5 years at Microsoft this year, which blows my mind. Yeah. So I work on Azure Arc enabled data services that have, a long history with SQL Server, Azure data, and just data in general. And when I am not in front of my computer, I'm generally outside hiking or running or biking and hanging out and drinking beer and eating good food.
Yes, all of the biking and running and all of those things are so that you can drink more beer and eat more food.
Basically, yes.
Well, it's obvious that you love to do those types of things, running, biking, like you said, and you're very high energy. You've been here in Louisville for a little bit, but I'm kind of curious, what are some things that you would probably give to others that might help them to become more active?
That's a good question. For people that haven't known me for 15, 20 years, they might not know that I was not always super active into running. But once upon a time, a friend of mine said, I'm going to run a 5K. And the competitiveness in Jes said, well, she can run a 5K. Why can't I run a 5K? And then I tried running a mile and realized why I couldn't run a 5K yet.
Oh.
And right, like I went from a 5K to a 10K and then a 10K to a half marathon. And then I got involved in biking. And
Yep.
For people that want to get more active, I always say start small, right? Number one, 15 minutes of doing something is better than 0. 1 mile is better than 0.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I have learned is you really have to love what you're doing to consistently put the time in and do it. I love running. I actually was injured for the last 3 months. I'm just getting my mileage back up after that. And I've been miserable because I could go to cycling class and I could go lift weights, go to yoga and all that. But to me, it's just not the same mentally and physically.
Yeah.
And then I talk to people that say, I hate running. And I'm like, what do you like doing? Do you like hiking? Do you like judo? Do you like swimming? I hate swimming. I would prefer to never swim again. I'm cool with that. So, find something you love and just do a little bit of it. And then it builds on it. And the more you find joy in something, the more willing and often you will do it.
Yeah, because it's fun.
That's great advice right there.
I've been down for a while with an injury too, so I'm kind of getting rolling again too. Any tips for the folks who like us or were out of the game and are trying to dive back in without diving?
Yeah, it's hard to reset, right? Like I'm thinking the last time I was able to run, I ran a 25K, which is 15 and a half miles, right? And then I came out of that race not being able to lift my left leg up. I can't go out and run 15 miles today, right? So it's like, okay, look at where I was yesterday. Am I doing better than I did yesterday? Not am I doing better than I did before my injury, but am I doing better than I did last week? So it's just taking it day by day, resetting it. And that's where I start from. Yeah. We have to be kind to ourselves. We do.
Hey, there you go. Yeah, that's true.
Do it safely and just keep getting better each day. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
That's good. I like that.
You haven't been in the area all that long. We were talking earlier. It's almost a year. Congratulations. And I haven't either. As a matter of fact, most of the things that I enjoy, I've learned from either you or Chris or the folks at work. What are some things that you like about the area?
So my two favorite things about Louisville, well, three really. Number one on my mind right now, you don't really have winter. Those of you that are native to Louisville might think that we've had a winter, but from Wisconsin.
We've had more winter than Charlotte.
The weather here has been great over the winter. I'm really trying to adjust to the humidity in the summer. I'll get there.
Oh yeah.
I love the food scene. I think Louisville is amazing for food. Like I love food. We already talked about that. I love cooking it. I love eating it. I love talking about it. But I love the food here. Like some of my favorite restaurants are Game, which has like meatballs and wild game burgers and all of that, like delicious. We took Jason and Angie there when they first moved to town as one of their first places.
Was awesome. It was amazing.
Yeah. I love Oishi sushi. That's so delicious. What was the other place? Luvino, right? They have one down on Bardstown and out here in Middletown. Just this small plates, great wine. Oh, the Havana Rumba restaurants with all that food. Like
those are good.
The steak places. Like there's no end to the good food here in Louisville. And people tell me frequently that it was better before COVID and things have like closed and gone downhill. And I think, what? So.
There's a better?
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point that especially Jason, where being in the downtown area, there has been a lot of things that have moved out, but there's still a lot of good places that are around. So you named some ones I haven't been to in a long time. That's really cool. That's awesome.
There's some unique food here. And I was just talking to Chris recently. There's a sandwich here called a hot brown that sounds like not a thing you want to try, but I haven't tried it yet, and it sounds delicious. Like, what's on it?
We will take you to Goose Creek Diner and introduce you to theirs. It's like toast covered in ham and turkey and then drowned in Mornay sauce, which is like a cheese sauce.
Oh, that sounds so good.
It's very good. Preferably do it on a Friday, Jason, so you know you don't have to come into work during the week after you eat something like that.
Like that does things to you. The hot brown, brown.
Yeah, everybody goes through these, so I got to ask: New Year's resolutions. Have you had any? Is it going okay so far? I've already broken a few of mine.
I don't like to tend to think of them as resolutions, right? Like I'm gonna do just this year, but I try to pick a couple of like themes for my year.
Oh, cool.
Like what is my theme this year? And so the two that I picked for myself, one was, trying to be comfortable with being uncomfortable because I've only been here less than a year where I'm living. I just switched to being a program manager in July. So that's been, 7-8 months. We're still in this weird, constantly shifting COVID world. And I'm a person that loves my routines and loves my everything being normal.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to be like, okay, I don't have to have every minute of the next 6 months planned out. Like,
Yeah.
I can be flexible. I can get through not knowing how to get to that place I want to get to in Louisville. Like, I'll figure it out. My other theme that I have been trying to live with is to compliment more, because
wow.
there's a lack of kindness in the world.
Yeah.
And
I like that.
I have just been trying to compliment people, coworkers,
Yeah.
family, random people that I see at the grocery store.
That's cool.
And so that's something I've been trying to do as well. I mean, how much would it make your day if someone was like, you look very sharp in that shirt, or I thought your idea about this thing was really smart and I really liked it. And that's it. Just no expectation of response.
Yeah.
No ulterior motive other than to just compliment people more.
Or
That's-
I love your glasses. They're
Oh.
kind of awesome.
And thank you.
That's pretty powerful. I really like that theme I did. That is fantastic. Yeah, that's a great idea. I've never looked at it that way, but that's pretty impressive. I like that.
I used to do resolutions, and the problem is with something like I resolved to run 1,000 miles this year.
Yeah,
Or resolved that I'm going to blog twice a
Yeah.
month or something
Yeah.
like that. Is we're setting ourselves up for this expectation, and we have no idea what life is going to put in our way
Yep.
next 12 months. Whereas when
Right.
I have a theme, like I can follow that regardless of what happens. So
That's awesome.
that's the way I've been
Good.
doing the last
Good
couple
stuff.
of years. Yeah.
We have one more personal type question.
Okay.
And it kind of transitions us into talking about data people. What and data things. What would you like to see happen with the data community in 2022? I think it's time for it to wake up a little more, and I'm wondering what you think.
I just want to be back in person. I want to meet the local user groups in person. I want to
Yep.
drive to Lexington to speak at their user group in person.
Yep.
I want us to have a data Saturday or SQL Saturday in person. I want to go to Summit in November in Seattle in person. I joke that I'm going to submit a pre-con for a full day session, which is just called everyone come in and hug each other. I think it will sell out instantly, I'll be honest.
Most definitely.
And my big reason for it is we're really burned out on virtual events. I know my professional network has been shrinking over the last year in particular, because in these virtual events, it's so much harder to just meet someone that you didn't know before. It's so hard for, Jason to introduce me to someone he works with at a user group. And that's what I miss. I miss my professional network growing. I'm sure other people feel the same way.
Yeah.
And I also worry about all of these people we have in the community. When I started out in the community, 12, 13, 14 years ago, going to my first user group, going to my first SQL Saturday, writing blog posts. And there were all of these other people that were so much more experienced than I were, that took me under their wing, gave me feedback, gave me tips, helped me, lifted me up, brought me to where I am.
Yeah.
And I worry that there's 2 years of people that have wanted to do these things or tried to do these things, and we're not able to reach them. They're being lost. And I wonder if we've had people that have gotten turned away because of that. And that breaks my heart, because everyone has something to contribute. Absolutely everyone.
Yeah.
And so I really want to be back in person with the data community this year.
We're in year 3 of this now, and obviously we want everyone to be safe. We don't want people to be sick. We definitely don't want people to die.
No.
But you're right, Jess. There are people who have started their career in data, and they don't even know a community exists at this point.
Exactly. I have a couple coworkers on my team at Microsoft that are out of college in the last couple of years, and they've not been to a Microsoft office. They haven't met anyone on their team. They don't know about all these community activities, and that's repeating itself across the country and across the world. So I hope that we can safely and happily get back to that.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement there. I know that especially in the workforce areas that you even mentioned it, the people that come and join different teams at their places of employment, and they haven't even met their team members face to face. That's weird to me because I've never experienced that until now. And that's just, it's crazy. So, but yeah, that's a very good point.
But we definitely want to see it go back the other direction a little bit.
Well, let's get a little bit into the technical side. Let's talk about some data type stuff. I think that's pretty cool.
Let's do that.
So as far as let's throw some hybrid stuff out there. As far as the hybrid goes, when you hear hybrid, that could be taken in some different directions. As Jason calls it, an overloaded term. If we said something about hybrid, will it be big in 2022? What does that mean to you? Do you feel like it's going to gain some more steam in 2022? Do you think there's big things happening from a hybrid standpoint? What are your thoughts?
I think that hybrid IT in general, hybrid technologies have been around for a few years.
Yep.
They're just now getting attention, and I think it's going to continue for the foreseeable future. This isn't a fad. So to set the stage, what I consider hybrid, there's this, there are some companies, very few, that say, I'm going to have all of my applications, all of my data, all of my IT assets, all of my assets on premises in my data center forever. Locked down, nobody else gets to touch them. Then there's this other unicorn of the company that says, I am going to have all of my applications, all of my data, all of my business assets, all of my IT assets in a cloud. And that's where it's going to be forever. And it's this one. The reality is that there's a mixture of it. Companies, especially established companies, have on-premises architectures. They have apps. Some of them are legacy apps that have been around for, let's face it, we know, decades. They're also building new ones. But these same companies also probably use like software as a service applications. Think about some sort of HR package or accounting package, right? That's hybrid because it's not truly something they own. They might have, I work with a lot of companies in my space that have things, IoT devices in factories or on vehicles or other transportation things. That's technically an IT asset. That's hybrid. That doesn't exist in a data center.
Yep.
And then there are a lot of companies where one division went and created a thing in Azure because someone said this was cool. And then another division went and created something in AWS or GCP because it met their need or this was cool. Yeah. And then that has to be brought in. And that's hybrid, right? It's this combination of, maybe a primary on-premises data center, but also some other secondary locations, edge locations, one or more public clouds, SaaS applications. And that's the way it is now. When you think about it in your own life, how many people are like, oh, I'm all on premises. I still get a paper check, and then I write out paper checks to pay my bills, and I put them in a paper envelope and put a paper stamp on them. And that's the equivalent of it. But on the other hand, who can say every bit of my life is electronic? Everything is digital, right? I have a safe in my closet that holds some of my paper stuff. I have my KeyPass vault, which has all of my passwords in it. And it's the way the world is right now. So I don't think that this is new in 2022. I don't think it's a fad in 2022. I think just the term is, like Jason said, maybe overloaded, but maybe a little bit misunderstood too.
Yeah, what you said is just what I meant by overloaded, right? Like when you start to unpack that, you start running into more words. Public cloud, private cloud, multi-cloud, edge, right? Like it's all over the place, but at the end of the day, it's all hybrid.
It is, yeah.
Do you believe that hybrid is more of a deliberate strategy, or or more of an excuse that some firms use for why they haven't made it all the way to the cloud yet?
Mm.
Hybrid is a legitimate reason. I work for a company. I work on a team that works in Azure, so a public cloud provider. And after working with customers for the last 15 years, again, I realized there are legitimate reasons businesses cannot or will not move to Azure. Again, look at legacy applications, things that run at financial services institutions or pop-owned shops, that the sheer number of inputs and the sheer number of outputs to re-architect that would be more time and money than the company has in a year, maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
And some of those things, cloud services may not even exist to replicate some of those things and have all of those connectors and all of those data sources. The other thing that a lot of people might not consider when they're like, oh, why isn't the company all in the cloud, is the sheer number of regulatory requirements. Different industries face.
We know all about that.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is a huge thing in the data world in particular. Think about data sovereignty requirements alone. Now, here in the US, we don't deal with that as much. We're starting to, California has some laws on the books about it. But in other parts of the world, where the data is generated is where it must remain. And that's a government regulation, that's an industry regulation. So even if those companies want to move to a public cloud, they can't. They would be breaking laws. So this will continue to be a hybrid world. And that's like, that part of it is one of the things that excites me about the product I'm working on, the Arc-enabled data services, because what we do is we take, these Azure services like Azure SQL Managed Instance, we package it up in a container and we let a customer download it into their infrastructure. And so they get the benefit of Azure, they get this service with the automatic backups and the evergreen upgrades and the authentication and all of that, but they can run on premises to maintain that data sovereignty. And I see a lot more of that hybrid, right? For years, it's been push everything up to the cloud. Everything's going to go to the cloud. Now, I think people are starting to say, can you bring that down to me? Because I can't always go.
Even in cases where sovereignty isn't a requirement, right? You still have some really big industry verticals that are interested in maintaining data propriety. Right. Banking is a big one. Healthcare is a big one, right? Those InfoSec folks at those places, they want to know that they can take care of it themselves. That if something did go wrong, it's their fault, right?
Well, that's great that you brought up InfoSec, because I want to ask a question here about, since we're piggybacking on the deliberate hybrid strategies. Do you think it resolves any concerns over maintaining ownership and security as far as infrastructure without losing the convenience of a cloud providers like Azure?
As I was saying, there was this long time push for everything to be moved up and modernize everything by bringing it into the cloud. And IT, like cloud firms, again, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, they're starting to realize that is not the only way that customers want. Now customers have tasted the cloud. They have seen how magic it can be. And so, I hear it all the time, how expensive it can be and how troublesome it can be, but also it solves problems. It deliberately, I think about something like Azure SQL database, right? That's the one I'm familiar with. What I've done for you. How much more does that, how much more scale out for a DBA is that? If I have 100 databases on prem, that's 100 backup jobs I have to check to make sure they don't fail, and 100 DBCC check DBs and 100 index jobs. Yep. When the cloud, right, that stuff, it's there. Yeah, you pay a bit more, but now you can manage 1,000 databases instead of 100.
And you can do it this afternoon, right? You don't have to have a year-long project.
Oh, yeah, you don't have to. And when you want to upgrade or get a bigger server, you don't have to requisition another server with more RAM and more memory and more storage and then wait for it to be approved and arrive and do the upgrade and fail over. You just hit a button and say, can I have 4 more CPU, please? So companies, like, they tasted that, right? But then again, some of them feel constrained again by the fact that, well, I can only have so many CPU on this given service in the cloud, or I can only have so large of a database on this particular service in the cloud. And so, again, this hybrid that like Microsoft is starting to build is kind of, again, bringing that to them. They get all these features, these PaaS features, but yes, they own the infrastructure. They can choose however many CPUs they want. They can choose however much and whatever level of storage they want to provide apps and such. And like, I see that getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Because it solves problems. It solves legitimate business problems for some customers. Absolutely.
Well, I'm going to go off script really quick with one question.
I'm surprised you haven't already, Jason.
Oh, this is all off script. None of this is scripted. This is like script. You work with the Azure Data Services product team.
I do.
And that encompasses a few things, and don't give away any secret stuff that's coming up or anything, but in your opinion, is there anything that you work on that you feel like is maybe a sleeper, right? Something not everybody knows that much about, but they should, and they'd be better off if they dug into it.
Oh boy, there's a bunch of things. So number one, first off, is I come from the SQL Server world. Right? A lot of people do, but I should say this: a lot of people start their IT career in a certain job, whether they're an application developer, whether they're an infrastructure admin, whether they're a database administrator, and they work on a specific system or set of systems. And then that becomes the hammer, and everything becomes a nail, right? And so you see everything, a developer that always uses PostgreSQL or MySQL, when maybe that's not the best choice for that database. You see a specific language picked to write something, when there might be something more modern that would solve the problem better. I think that in Azure, there's a huge variety of data services. And I think that everyone that helps design applications and design data stores would do well to learn, not how they all work, but what problem does this solve? Right? My favorite question to ask at work is, what problem does this solve? Right? What problem does Azure SQL Database solve? What problem could Azure Database for Postgres solve? What problem could Cosmos DB solve? What problem does Synapse Analytics solve? What problem does Databricks solve? That way, so I think it just behooves data professionals to understand more than just a relational database, or more than just a NoSQL database. Being able to, when you get a project, someone's implementing something, being able to be that voice of reason and say something like, I see what you're trying to do here, and we could put it in SQL Server, but maybe this is really just a key value pair thing, and we could save ourselves licensing costs, time, and to save this and just do something simpler. Because again, there are app developers that all they've known is SQL databases. There are app developers that all they've ever known is something like MongoDB. So I will just say that, like, that's my high level thing.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. The other thing I would say, in the last, year and a half-ish, Microsoft has been working on Azure SQL database hyperscale tier. And I think that thing is cool. And I don't think it gets a lot of recognition or a lot of use cases. It's taken this monolithic, like, we have one server that has the compute, the storage, the database engine, the data files, the log files on it. We've broken it into these 4 separate pieces. And this enables a ton of different things, right? Like much larger databases. The IOPS are increasingly better. The scale at which you can operate things is just fantastic. So I would say, people say sometimes, I can't move my database to Azure because I'm constrained by the size, or I can't move my database to Azure because my throughput requirements are so high. I'm always like, but have you looked at Azure SQL Database Hyperscale yet?
Wow.
I think that it's kind of an underdog right now.
Well, I'm going to be looking more into SQL DB Hyperscale now myself. So thanks for that.
I'm intrigued. I'm going to ask one more follow-up question to that. So the people that are listening, the people that are seeing this, and even for myself, when you speak of these things, which are really cool, where are some things that you would recommend, or what are some things that you would recommend where people could actually, upscale their knowledge on some of these items that we're talking about? Do you have any advice that you would give individuals that might help them?
Yeah, I have a couple go-to resources. So number one is the Microsoft Learn website.
Yep.
They've been really hardcore building it over the last 3 or 4 years. And there's just probably at this point hundreds of modules, and every module tackles, and some of them are very product specific, like Learn Azure Arc. Some of them are just very role specific, like there are the Azure tools that will help you be a data engineer. And what I like about Microsoft Learn is everything's broken down into modules. So it's piece by piece. Some of it's learning, some of it's reading, I should say. And some of them also have exercises. There are sandboxes so that they give you the commands to run, or you can do it in your own, like, Azure subscription or on your own computer because I'm one of those people that learns best by doing, right? I don't think anyone reads something and absorbs it 100%. You can read SQL 2008 internals 10 times, but until you actually go to rebuild an index the first time and it fails, you aren't going to know how to fix that. So I really like Microsoft Learn for learning a lot of the things, particularly about Azure.
Awesome.
The other thing that I would challenge people to do is take a certification exam. Those are really, they're turning away from specific products. There's not a lot of SQL Server 2008 administrator exams anymore. It is the Azure administrator, the Azure data administrator, the Azure network admin, which helps you gain a specific skill set, right? But it's a very structured learning path. It exposes you to a lot of different documentation. It exposes you to a lot of different terms. It really encourages you to go out and search the internet for blogs and articles related to this, or ask people, I thought I heard someone on Twitter mention this recently. I still think, there's this whole our certification is valuable. It's going to help you get hired in the long term. And I think of it as it's a great learning tool. Why not take advantage of that? And you don't even have to take the exam necessarily, study for it.
Yeah, some great advice.
We've probably all three done a fair number of certifications over our careers, and I can honestly say, a lot of them there were a lot of things being marketed in there, right? Like you hear that from folks. But at the same time, I can also say that there's no certification that I ever did that I didn't learn something while I was
Yeah.
preparing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I also like Microsoft Learn too. I was
Yeah.
on there today doing
Yeah.
things about Azure Purview.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, which is
Data.
way more complicated than it sounds.
It's just a data catalog. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
It's not just a data count. Well, I think we can kind of roll into some wrap up now. We've talked about a lot of really good things.
Yeah.
Try to wrap these up with some fun things, but one of the things we want to make sure we say or talk about before we have a little bit of fun is most people watching this know that you're a person who's out and about and you do a lot of speaking at events and we actually enjoy hearing you speak. Sorry if that embarrasses you. But the current environment's hard, but things are opening up. There are going to be some in-person events. Is there anything coming up that you're going to be at?
There are. So first off, in early March, I am slated to speak in person at SQL. That's the premier SQL conference in London.
Nice.
That's not in this country.
It's not, but they are also doing it as a hybrid event. So there will be both physical people there and virtual. So some of the speakers are going to be virtual. So if you're interested in at least learning, getting that really high energy feeling off of it, even if you are still at home, consider a virtual ticket.
Awesome.
The only other thing I have on my calendar at the moment is the SQL Server and Azure SQL conference in Las Vegas in April. I'm not sure if they're doing that as hybrid, but again, I know more people are going in person. So I'll be talking about, Microsoft's hybrid strategy and Azure Arc data services at both of those. And then shameless plug for myself, I actually don't have a lot of other stuff on my calendar right now. So if anybody's listening and has like a user group and needs a speaker, let me know.
Oh my goodness.
I think I am slated to speak for the Columbus, Ohio user group in April, but that's it so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the UK at SQL Bits in March, which by the way is one of my favorite conferences. It's a lot of fun and everyone over there is pretty awesome. I think it's Intersection is the one in April in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it used to be called SQL Intersections, but they rebranded.
Okay.
Everyone knows it as SQL Intersections. Yes.
Okay.
It's the only database conference that will be in Vegas that week in April.
Yes.
watch like Couchbase be there or something. That is great. Thank you. Okay, so just one little thing to wrap up with that is maybe a little campy. I love animals. I know you love animals. Chris doesn't wear it on his sleeve, but Chris loves animals.
Oh yeah, 100%.
There's a dog within 100 feet of him right now.
Yep.
One thing that is kind of a nice icebreaker at things is we all kind of choose a spirit animal. Like, have you ever done that, Jess? Do you have a spirit animal?
I never have. It would probably be something like a mountain goat, right? Like always outside, always climbing mountains, always tooling around outdoors. Like, is there an animal that loves hiking? Maybe an alpaca, right? Like alpacas, not only are they adorable, but they're very cute and they love hiking and climbing and outdoors. They're probably an alpaca of all things.
Have you ever made an alpaca mad and had it spit at you?
No, that's a llama.
Really gross.
I think that's a llama.
Yeah, maybe. Well, okay, you're right. Llamas spit.
Llamas are mean. Alpacas are like the smaller, softer, fluffier versions of llamas.
This is my spirit animal. This is It's
Is it
actually
a gargoyle?
the Mothman.
Oh,
Yes. So the herald of disaster, actually.
if otherwise, my spirit animal is my dog. I mean, those of you that know me and my Twitter account know I have Jack, the German short-haired pointer.
Oh yeah.
And he's turning into an old man now. So
Mm.
he's actually sleeping in his closet right now where it's nice and warm.
Uh,
But yeah, like his entire life is like, let's get up and go for a walk. Oh, it's been an hour. Can we go for a run? Hey, it's sunny out. Can we go outside? Hey, it's the weekend. Can we go outside?
Oh, you fixed me, by the way, because now, after maybe 5 times asking you what it meant, when I hear GSP, I think German short-haired pointer instead of George St. Pierre.
There you go. Well, I do love animals, Jason, and so mine's named Maui, and he is a Boston Terrier Pug mix, and he's brindle color. I can't get him to come over here right now, but he's got that smashed in face, and he is with me everywhere I go. So he is my shadow.
I've
He is
seen
on.
him. Awesome.
Yeah, he's on meetings with us usually. So yeah, it's
Rocket's in here. Who wants to see a puppy?
you got to see a puppy.
Can we say hi to Rocket?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come here, buddy.
Like,
Oh.
oh my gosh, he's gotten so big. Like, what happened? Oh, hi, buddy.
Hey, hi. Hi,
I
Rocket.
was getting ready to say puppy is not a puppy anymore since the last time that I saw.
Oh my goodness.
13
Hi,
weeks.
Rocket. Hi, Rocket.
13 weeks?
Uh-huh.
He's
Wow.
going to be a big.
Big dog. Look at the paws. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, everybody, I think we have a good episode of this that we can put up, and just thank you so much. Thank you too, Chris, so much, but you're always here.
Say, Jess, you are one of the most authentic people I've ever met in my entire life.
Thank you, Chris.
So, yeah, just thank you for being you. You're one cool person. So thank you so much.
And
That's not
I hope that we can all do this in person soon.
Oh, yeah.
Or coffee or something. Yeah.
Yep.
Hopefully no
One day
more
we'll-
storms derail our plans for this.
We need to get you down there to, what's that place, Jason, that we always go to? I just lost it. Blackbeard Espresso.
Oh, that one. The other
Yeah.
place you're talking about, well, you told me never to say that in public.
What are you talking about?
I'm joking.
I have not even heard of Blackbeard Espresso, but I love coffee, so let's plan that sometime.
No, yeah, be great. Yeah, be awesome.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. It is always a pleasure talking to the two of you.
Hey, same to you.
Have a great weekend.
You do the same.
And
Yeah.
you too, Chris. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Then that's Chris, and this is Data in the Bill.
There you go.
We might just record that one day and just have a clip.
That's all you need. I was caught off guard there for a minute. Yeah. Thanks again.
Your initial, I remember seeing the first episode and like the intro is going across the big bridge. Your outro should be like taking a lap around Churchill Downs.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Well, one last thing I did want to mention that Jess, you're definitely a proponent of women in tech.
Mm-hmm.
And today is the UN's International Women and Girls in Science Day.
Yes.
Yep.
So happy that. That's a lot of words. I'm not going to say it again.
Yes. And all hail Mary Curie, who is one tough as nails lady and one of my favorite female scientists. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Piece of trivia. Her notebooks still exist, but nobody can read them because they're radioactive.
Okay, like you can't get close enough to them without being exposed.
Yeah, I guess you have to wear one of those suits or something.
Yeah.
You never disappoint with the knowledge that you have, Jason. I will say that.
He never does.
I literally just read that somewhere the other day. I have to go find it for y'all, but I just thought it was interesting. They're like in a museum, like protected by lead or something.
Oh,
Uh,
appreciate it. You all are awesome.
Yeah,
Enjoy the
I'm gonna
weekend
go.
ahead.
Andy should be home. I'm gonna find something to eat. I think we
Yeah.
may go out.
Be safe. Talk soon.
You too.
All right.
Bye.